In today's episode, discover how embracing your identity through self love will help you live with real pride.
Hey, this is Steph, and welcome to the Together Moving Forward podcast.
A podcast helping 2S LGBTQI people embrace self love and self respect so you can celebrate yourself with pride. In today's episode, learn how embracing your identity starts with practicing self love every day. Discover how releasing shame can help you build confidence and live with pride. And find inspiration to create a life rooted in authenticity, self acceptance, and a stronger sense of identity. Today's conversation is about discovering how embracing your identity through self love will help you live with confidence, authenticity, and pride. Hello again, I'm Steph Vachon. I'm a human being. Welcome back to the Together Moving Forward podcast. Embrace your 2S LGBTQI plus identity with pride through self love. If you have ever struggled to fully love and respect yourself, you're not alone, and this podcast is here to help you. Every episode, you'll hear real stories and conversations that leave you with practical tools, fresh perspectives, and the confidence to embrace who you are with pride. Today's guest is Sam Gutierrez, whose journey is a powerful testament to resilience, self love, and authenticity. After growing up in a strict religious household, surviving an abusive marriage, and rediscovering her identity, Sam has transformed her experiences into a mission of creating safe, inclusive spaces where people can heal and be themselves. In this conversation, she shares how embracing self love helped her reclaim her identity and live with pride. Sam, thank you so much for being here with us today and welcome to the Together Moving Forward podcast.
Hi.
Take two.
Yeah.
Okay. Your journey includes growing up in a religious household, surviving an abusive marriage, living with celiac disease, and eventually embracing your queer identity. Looking back, what was the moment you finally realized you deserved to live authentically instead of simply surviving?
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
um, you know, I grew up in a very religious household, a very conservative, strict Hispanic household. I was oldest daughter, a woman too. So I don't feel like I ever really had one full identity while I was growing up. I feel like I always had two. I had the nerd who likes to read, listen to music, and then I had the subservient child that needed to be making food with my grandma or never sitting down because the men needed to get fed, things like that. I really felt like I had a loss of identity while I was in my 20s and early 30s because I was just masking and trying to stay alive and also just trying to fit in.
Hmm.
I lost my queerness for a while for the sake of fitting in, for the sake of trying to show my family that I could be married and have this other world, but like that wasn't who I was. And I was failing at things like that, at marriages and relationships. I was failing at those things. And I just needed to stop and have the acceptance of I did because I needed to survive. And I got through it. And yeah, in my last marriage, I really kind of lost myself even more than I'd ever lost myself. I was trying to be the best wife. I was trying to obey this Hispanic world that he was guilting me into honoring, and I thought from what I saw as a child that relationships were volatile and fiery and spicy and you know all that stuff is happening all the time, and it's like that's just not normal behavior. But going to the mental health facility and spending a few days there and still not understanding what was wrong with me, I got out and I was on depression medicine and everything, but I was having so much rumination and it was giving me SI, and I had never felt that way in my life. So I think it was because, obviously I wasn't that depressed. I had other problems, which would be the ADHD, and I had bipolar disorder, but those things were misdiagnosed. They were just like, oh, sounds like you're in an abusive relationship. Here's some depression medicine. Have a nice life. no follow-up or anything. And so it took me advocating for myself. I'm out of medicine. I'm not going to leave your office until somebody gives me medicine, because I can't stop crying. And if I leave this place, I don't know what's going to happen to me. I did it at 2 different facilities that were, providing counseling and mental health, where they're like, "Oh, your insurance doesn't take this." And I'm like, "I don't even care. You take me to the hospital then." Like,
Mm.
I'm crying and I don't know what's going to happen when I leave because of the rumination. And I think the rumination is probably coming from the wrong medication. But I had to allow myself to finally, be me again after I went through all of that. And it took a while to find me. And it's gonna sound really silly, but when Pee Wee Herman died, I felt like a part of me, my childhood, my childhood weirdness, the fun that was in me that people would make fun of, was kind of taken away. Like, he was like this shining light inside of me that I kept forever. And then once he was gone, I was like, oh my gosh, like, all that permission to be me, I had left. And why wasn't I just being fun like Pee Wee?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where I turned it around, and I just started just liking the stuff I liked before, and embracing the stuff I embraced before, and just feeling good about it, and forgiving myself for all of that.
You often describe your future grocery store as a safe sanctuary. What does a truly safe space feel like for someone who spent years feeling rejected? And how can each of us create that kind of space in our own community?
Servant leadership is where I just go immediately, is to servant leadership. That's the way that I managed when I was a manager. It's the way that I also try to manage my home and my home life. So, utilizing empathy and listening and vulnerability, providing an openness for the vulnerability is a big one too. It's really big, because if somebody's feeling really, really, pushed down upon, they're holding themselves inside of a little shell, and giving them that openness and that space, to embrace the vulnerability and embrace empathy and listening, and really just caring about other people, caring about what happens to the other people. That's how we build community. And that's how I feel like people will be able to, understand what's needed in all workplaces in order to feel safe. Because if you're going through something, I was going through something really terrible. And my ex-husband was very abusive in many different ways, but he would target while I was at work. And so I'm supposed to be a manager. I have my own office. I've got 25, 40 employees, but I'm in my office crying because he woke up and decided to text me that I was the worst person in the world. And I wasn't valuing myself that way. And so I wasn't providing like proper servant leadership. I wasn't providing it to myself either. I was not a whole person. And what I really needed was me, but another me, providing that kind of safe space for me. And that's what I feel the store will be. The store will be the healing place that you either are going to work there and you're going to go do amazing things afterwards, or you're going to work there and you're going to stay there and build your own, business from there. But providing an environment for people to learn, with those, I'm just literally empathy and listening. Just providing that is more than anybody could possibly understand. That is so huge. Does that make sense? Like, it's such a big thing. And if that doesn't happen at work, because everybody's got this like weird mindset of we're at work and we're robots and we do all these things, and forgetting that there's humans there who have stuff going on in their lives, and we're not aware of every single day. Somebody hits you in a parking lot, when they're with a shopping cart, and you don't know what's going on in their life. And so you have the choice of either getting upset or providing empathy for that person and maybe listening and finding out, what it really was that caused them to hit you in the parking lot.
Okay, but tell us about that new store that is gonna be.
Yeah, so my store is going to be it's going to be gluten-free. I have celiac disease, so it's going to be gluten-free, all locally sourced, a lot of allergy cognizant products that are all locally sourced as well. I'm getting coffee from Brick Road Coffee, and I'm going to put my label on it. I'm getting pastries. I'm also going to be making pastries. It's going to be kind of like a mini Whole Foods, but open year-round, farmers market, all completely keeping the money in the community. And I plan to work with the shelters here in town to provide a workplace training center for victims of domestic violence. So bringing that empathy and that listening full force into my own environment, to show that this is the way things kind of need to be, especially if we have people who are healing from a lot of trauma and they need that space to just stand and cry. Maybe they're going to cry the whole time that they're, doing something, but at least they're doing something and they're feeling okay while they're doing it because they're allowed to express themselves instead of having to suppress who they are and what pain they have. Really showing that it's normal, just normalizing, people go through so many stages in their lives and we're not always sunshine. And even if you've never been abused and you just got abused, you're confused because you've had this wonderful, sparkly childhood in life up until that point, and so sometimes people don't even realize they're being abused until they've gotten out of it. And that's the part where they have lost their own sense of identity and they need to either, I don't know, manifest a new one or find out who they were before when they were their happiest and kind of embrace that and move and grow with that prior person.
Oh, congratulations. That's a great project. For so many LGBTQ plus people, healing starts with learning to love themselves again. What did self-love actually look like for you? Not as an idea, but as daily choices that slowly changed your life.
Prioritizing my mental health. Once I was finally diagnosed with the right stuff, being ADHD and bipolar, a lot of my quirks and stuff made sense to me. Insomnia since I was a small child, like to be isolated and alone because it's just safer for me, quieter for me. I wasn't eating, I wasn't taking care of myself, and that was prior to celiac disease. So food kind of always made me sick, but I also grew up in an environment of the 1990s where everybody was supermodels and very skinny, and I wasn't that. And I felt a lot of shame over my body pretty much my entire adult life because of, beauty trends and also family who, making fun of you is fun for them and keeping that laugh going. So it's like whoever is the person they're going to pick on, then that's who it's going to be. I had pink hair when I was a teenager. I wore fishnets. My grandfather would tell me I was a whore. They would just say, you're gross. You're never going to be anything, especially with your hair. All of these things trying to shame me into being somebody else the way they probably shamed my mother and all of my aunts. And, and that's just the way they learned. They were probably shamed in the same exact way. And it's the only thing that they knew. And so I was starving myself probably since like 1994, 1992. I'd eat an orange for lunch and I'd either throw away my school lunch, or it wasn't until I took my celiac disease diagnosis serious because I wasn't getting any better. I was being very, very sick and decided that I was going to feed myself and stop drinking too, because I would just drink vodka and eat Sour Patch Kids. And that's like a totally normal diet. And it got me through for so long, but I was just starving myself physically, and then which turned into mentally. You can't think if you're not eating, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not drinking water. All of that stuff goes together hand in hand, and that's all just providing like love for yourself. And when you love yourself and you show yourself that you love yourself by providing a good diet or making sure that you go to sleep on time so that way you're not exhausted for the next day, it really translates into your everyday motive for how you're treating other people as well. If you're being down on yourself and you're hurting yourself, you're not happy, you're not kind to people, and I found that in myself where I was pretty selfish, I thought, towards the end of all of my drinking and having, just a wildness of irresponsibility that I didn't know was tied to bipolar disorder. I just wasn't taking care of myself, and it really took a while to get back to how I viewed myself and how I wanted my daughter to view me as well as an adult person, and really show her who she could be, and she could be with blue hair and still be loved and not be, shamed. So it all kind of goes together of my prioritizing my mental health and brings it all out to my daughter, other people who I meet in my daily life, to also wanting to provide that environment in a school so that people could not feel that way anymore, the way I felt.
You've transformed some of your deepest pain into a mission that serves the LGBTQ plus community, people with food allergies, and survivors of domestic violence. How did you shift from asking, why did this happen to me, to asking, how can I use this to help someone else?
I don't know if I've ever thought about why me, mostly because it's all I've ever known. So growing up with the, traditional Hispanic, growing up with church and the shame that comes with, Jesus forgives everybody, but like not you, because you have pink hair. And so you can't be forgiven. You can't be loved. You can't be any of these things, It was it was just my whole entire life.
Mm.
And I never felt like that. But once I came out of the fog of my last abusive relationship, I realized that I had the power to create the safe spaces. And so what I was doing though is I was existing in like a fight or flight pretty much forever. And so my body was constantly on edge and constantly kind of scrunched in like this. And that's how I was for so long, until I just decided that I had to step out of that fog. I had to step out of the fog because I have a child. I need to be a role model. I need to show her that we move on, that we grow, and that we get new skills, and that we do all of these things, and showing her and showing me that I have all these skills and I have all these things that I can provide to the world and to the universe, and be that provider, not just for myself, not just for my daughter, but for other people who are hurting and who are probably like me, just been hurting their whole entire life. Didn't know that like it's okay to be this way or that way or any way,
Yeah.
because no matter what way you are is the wrong way. And that's, you're the right way for other people though. Other people who have always been showed that they were the wrong way. And those people are waiting for you to come, waiting for me to come and give them love and embrace them and show them that they can be whatever they want and be welcomed and loved at the same time.
That was perfectly said. I have nothing to add. That was so good. Thank you. That was great. Okay, so I have to say it because this is take two. We were talking about, me and Sam were talking about being ADHD, and I had forgotten at the end of the episode, I looked and I had forgotten to press record, and I felt so bad. And Sam was such a good sport. She was like, no, don't worry, we're going to do it again. So I have to say that it's even better than the first one, and the first one was great. But anyway, thank you so much.
I know, it's like my excited like ADHD rubs off on anybody who's got it too, and we're like, let's be manic,
Yeah, for someone who doesn't understand, like I'll just say, I'm reading that question, but I'm thinking about the one that I asked before and the one that is coming up. So I want to make sure. Anyway, that's how my brain works too. So I had forgotten to press the record, and I felt really bad, but it's turning out to be an even better episode. So
That's true.
okay, for the last question, if someone listening today feels trapped by family rejection, shame, or fear of being their authentic self, what would you want them to know from your own experience?
Well, the people that are making you feel shame are not the people who get to decide who you are. You get to decide who you are, and you can change who you are as many times as you want. Whatever makes you happy, whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever you need almost at the moment, they don't get to decide. And if their constant mocking or abuse that makes you feel like you are not welcomed or good or wonderful, that it's not them, it's you who gets to decide. And so I have a sentence, I just want to read it. I had the privilege of friends and family, and not a lot of people have that. And the privilege is the cause after giving is the privilege. So it kind of is full circle there, really deep, really in there. But, whenever I'm feeling let down or hurt or betrayed, which is a very extreme word, but when somebody that you love is putting you down or making you feel a certain way, to me, I feel like that's a betrayal of like your love and your relationship with them. So I like to just do super gay stuff, like watch Tu Wong Fu or Trixie's Motel, something that'll give me like confidence, like seeing these things in the world. These are real people who struggle. Well, maybe not Tu Wong Fu, but they're, based off people who had to struggle, but Trixie, and like, it takes so much strength to show that on the screen, let alone being that person outside. So there's always these life sources. I lived in Prescott Valley, Arizona, which is really small and really awful, and it was full of just a bunch of racist people on drugs. But the Rocky Horror Picture Show I would get from the library every year for Halloween, and I didn't go out. I would sit by myself at home and I'd watch Rocky Horror Picture Show. And that like whole movie gave me enough confidence to believe that, like, I don't know, that I can do that. I can feel that confident in being a sweet transvestite, which is, it's just all of the things come together. And it's like, if you just say, I'm going to block this whole thing out because this is not who I am, this is not going to affect who I am. These people over here, blah, 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 blah. But what is going to affect who I am and how I am is what I give myself. So giving myself, I'm going to watch this movie because it has everything in it that I know is silly and weird and funky, and I love it. And just embracing that. I've always done this since I was little, and maybe that's just because I'm like kind of a loner or something, but I love Roald Dahl books. He was always mean to little kids, and like all of the, fantastical universes that he provided to me as a child, I feel kind of correlates directly into like watching. There's this movie with Kristen Stewart called Happiest Season. Have you seen it? It's like it's a Christmas movie. It makes me cry every time. It's on Netflix, but I really just embraced like media in that way, and like positive media that I know is stuff that like I feel inside. I might not be able to express that outwardly yet, but if I can have this one little pocket of peace of knowing the things that make me happy and make me feel whole, then, as many times as I have to watch it, or listen to the music, or, you know what I mean? Listen to Depeche Mode and like really get it out, and like something that makes you feel good, even if it's listening to the same exact song over and over again. Nobody can take that from you. Just like nobody can take who you want to be tomorrow or the next day. Yeah. So you can, every day you decide who you want to be. You decide how you want to behave. You decide how you want to treat people. And, and part of being whoever you want to be, that means you could, get dressed up every single day. You can be a cowboy one day. You could be the entire Village People for one whole week if you want to. And nobody can tell you that that's bad or wrong or you're not supposed to, because it's who you are, and nobody can change that. Nobody can take it from you. Nobody can decide that. It's all up to you.
And where are you with your queerness right now? Because we were talking earlier and you were saying how you had to let go of that.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So growing up in a Christian household and a Hispanic household, there's a lot of things in those types of environments that aren't talked about. Drugs, alcohol dependence, that's something. Domestic violence, something. Sexual violence, something. But there's also just the coding of Jesus is going to forgive everybody except for you if you're doing these things. And so I was living a double life when I was a teenager. I did have my pink hair and my fishnets and go to punk rock shows at night and make out with girls and, just be wild and smoke cigarettes. But then on Sunday, I'd have to be in church and pretend like I understood what was happening, that I felt the Holy Spirit, all of this stuff, because it was also me saving face in another like clique of friends who all went to church with my family and stuff. So I was living so many different layers and being suppressed, but also being defiant because I was a teenager. And so when I got older and I, was married to a man and I'm trying to live a normal life and I'm trying to read my Bible and do all these things, and it's just, none of it made sense. All of it hurt me. And I just was very sad for a really long time, but I don't think I showed the sadness. I think I just existed. And by existing, I was just drinking alcohol for years. So, I'd be in a relationship and then I'd get out of the relationship and then I just, drink or whatever, because whoever I was with was maybe a drug addict or something. And I was just living selfishly for myself throughout all of this, but never really identifying who I was. And in the midst of being in like abusive relationships and being easily influenced, I felt like I had a lot of prejudices, but a lot of confusion about being queer, being gay, all of those things, because I was supposed to fit into this Christian box that was being set for me and being told that this is the only way and everything else is a sin, and not understanding like, well, how can I love Jesus in my heart and believe he's a good person, but also I want to make out with chicks. So there's got to, why would Jesus make me in his liking, or what, all these questions I would ask, my family, and none of them had any type of like security in a question, in an answer that would be like
Mm.
anything to just code it over. My brother would ask me all the time, like, how do you watch this show that's made by gay people when you feel this way? And I'm like, I don't think I feel that way, but the people I'm around do feel that way. And my family feels that way. And how do I get out of that? How do I get away and just start being myself again? My daughter loves going to the Pride festivals and to rainbow festivals. She loves drag shows. So taking her probably when she's 10 now. So when she started, when she was like 4 or 5 is when I started taking her to like the daytime family ones, and she loved it. And I started like, hey, this is, like, okay, I feel good here. These are my people who I haven't embraced and I haven't loved and I haven't been in so long, because I've been stuck underneath this pressure
Mm.
of normalcy, of whatever my family thinks. And I've had to make a lot of sacrifices in the last few years. I stopped talking to my father. He because of God, we can't talk, according to him. Because of politics, we can't talk. And I just had to let that go. I had to let that go and start building my own family, building my
Yeah.
own dream, my own everything. And the fact that my 10-year-old daughter can say F him to my dad, like, if he's going to be that way and he's going to be hateful and he's not going to be kind, what do we want him for? And I'm like, yeah, what do we want him for? Right. Like,
Mm.
we're only surviving off of love and then we're not getting any love from them. Like, why should we have those people around?
Mm.
So all of it just came down to that. And in the last couple of years, I've really just like stuff that I didn't know existed before, like the use of pronouns to state your person. That was very empowering to me, to say, I'm maybe not a girl all the time. Maybe I don't want to be a woman, maybe I'm just fine just being a person and not being a female or a male or any of these things, just being me. And if I'm, dressed like a dude sometimes, or I dress like a, I don't know, wear a super cute slip and some red lipstick, it's, to me, it's all the same. And I've been raising my daughter in that same way too,
Mm.
where, we played the game of life and she's married to Ariana Grande every single time. I don't, I'm not going to be like, you're not allowed to, with the way my family would have been like,
Yeah.
that's disgusting. What's wrong with you? And it's like,
Yeah.
I play a dude every time, and I'm married to Jonathan Bailey. Like, so literally just let my daughter, like, seeing myself through her eyes and all the activities that we do in our lives and the way that we live our lives really gave me permission to just like, this is who I am. And if you don't want to love me as me, then you don't have to be a part of my life or my
Mm.
daughter's life, because we're building our foundation on acceptance. And I try to take that acceptance elsewhere, everywhere I'm at. And just, you never know what anybody's going through. Like, nobody would have known, that I had SI and I was, rumination over past abuse. People don't think about those things. They think, oh, you got
Mm.
out of this relationship and now you're better. But they don't think about the person you were in that relationship and the person you become afterwards, when you've lost your whole sense of self. So I feel like I found my queerness in pronouns and the game of life, and my daughter really embracing it, like not even a question of anything, And to me, I was like, that is unconditional love. She feels my unconditional love for her, and she's giving it back to me. And I never felt that. I didn't ever feel acceptance or unconditional love. And that's where my queerness has finally come just rainbow right out of me, was just the love and acceptance of my daughter, and leading by example and showing her that going to drag shows is cool. Who cares,
Mm.
right? Those people are happy, you're happy. It doesn't hurt anybody, all that stuff is safe, and it's okay, because it's positive. And I never had that before until now, really.
Wow, that was worth the whole interview. I'm so happy we restarted it. That was really, really good. What
Thank
you're
you.
saying about your daughter, I
Hmm.
experienced the exact same thing with our son. He's going to be 10. And
Hmm.
same thing. I mean, he's teaching me so much, and the
Hmm.
values of to be worth of his love and
Yeah.
us giving him love. And I mean, always, I still ask him, do you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend at school? And at first he would say whatever. Now he's like, no, I don't want to have a husband. I want to have a wife. So now he's like really down to the wife. And it's like, whoever you are, whatever you choose is just perfect. And he comes
Yeah.
to church too. I mean, I just came back from the gay games. My husband and our son were with me. It was so amazing. We go to Pride. For him, it's accepting everybody. And he
Yeah.
was loving it too. Congratulations for doing that with your
Thank
daughter.
you.
It's great. Okay, then we would be done with the second interview. That is not the one recorded. Thank you so much, Sam. That
Yeah.
was great. I wish you good luck with your store.
Thank you.
All the info is gonna be in the bio so people can go see you and you're gonna have a website, I'm sure. It's gonna be online, right?
Yes. Yeah. I have a website. So you can
Oh,
check me out on like Instagram, Facebook at Pickles Bodega. But check me out on Instagram and write me a message and tell me about your allergies or ask for recipes, anything. I'm here. I'm ready to go.
right.
I'm ready to make friends everywhere.
Oh, it's so great. That's what I love about the podcast is meeting people like you. And I'm sure you're gonna help a lot of people and you're inspiring me a lot. So
Oh,
thank you.
thank you.
Have a good day and let
Thank you.
keep me
You too.
posted when it comes out your store. And I really wish you great luck.
Awesome. Be safe.
You too. Bye. I really hope today's conversation resonated with you. Remember this: embracing your LGBTQ identity begins with choosing self love every single day. By letting go of the shame that was never yours to carry, you can build the confidence to live with pride. And above all, know that you deserve a life rooted in authenticity, self acceptance, and a strong, unwavering sense of who you truly are. I'm always looking for inspiring guests for the podcast, and I'd love to have you or someone you know share your journey with pride. The world needs your story. It has the power to change lives, and your voice matters. Reach out and send me an email today. Also, I'm now booking keynote speaking engagements. My talk is From Survival to Self Love: How I Finally Learned to Embrace My LGBTQ Identity with Pride, and how you can too. Details at togethermovingforwardpodcast.com under speaking. It is already time to say au revoir just for now. Join me every Monday for brand new episodes of the Together Moving Forward podcast and learn how to embrace your 2S LGBTQI plus identity with pride through self love. Wherever you're from in the world, we are all connected. Remember, solidarity beats hate. The more we unite, the stronger we become. Because at the end of the day, we are all equally human and we all deserve the same rights. Before we close with our weekly positive thought, I want to tell you what this one personally means to me, especially for this episode. I can face challenges with courage and grace. For me, this affirmation is a reminder that courage doesn't always mean making big, bold moves. Sometimes courage is simply choosing to be yourself when the world expects you to be someone else. It's choosing self love over self doubt, authenticity over approval, and hope over fear. Listening to Sam's story reminded me that even after experiencing rejection, shame, or hardship, we still have the power to write the next chapter of our lives. We can't always control the challenges we face, but we can choose how we respond to them with courage, with grace, and with the belief that we are worthy of love exactly as we are. So this week, I invite you to repeat this affirmation whenever life feels overwhelming. I can face challenges with courage and grace. Let it remind you that every small step you take towards embracing your identity, practicing self love, and living with pride is a victory worth celebrating. Now is the time to put your hand on your heart and repeat after me. Yes, you and me together. This week, positive thought. I can face challenges with courage and grace. Yeah, I can face challenges with courage and grace. From shame, guilt, silence, and rejection to pride, freedom, healing, and love. Together moving forward. Again, thank you so much for being here with me today and for sharing this journey of growth and love. I truly appreciate you. See you real soon. Ciao. Do you know anyone in the LGBTQ plus community who feels disconnected from their true self, wishing they could embrace their identity with confidence and pride? Share this episode now and help them step into self-love and self-respect so they can truly celebrate who they are with pride, feel empowered, and make a real difference in our community.